And what we are talking about today is about interviewing. And you wonder, but I've not even started searching. So why are we talking about that? Okay. I will really just deal with common things at the moment because on the fifth week, and then we're talking about interview preparation. It goes hand in hand with building your CV and also your LinkedIn. So these three things are actually interconnected, even with the mindset. And that's why I arrange it that way. You can't really separate them from each other, right? Because when you are building your CV, you're trying to talk about what you have done in the past. So the question will be, how do you see yourself? How do you really look at what you've done in the past? Okay. How do you remember the achievements you've had? And now, what sometimes we won't talk about what you are bringing to the table, and that has to do with your mindset that you believe in yourself that you can add value. Okay, though employers sometimes make you us feel like they are doing us a favor by employing us, but the truth is they didn't employ you because they think you needed a job. They employed you because they know you are going to help them solve a problem, no matter how little or how simple the task seems. Okay, so you you need to I will take a screenshot of this excuse me, sorry, so that my leaders can see. I'm trying to take a screenshot of my screen for them to see what is going on here. Good. So that said, back to what we were discussing. Sorry for the break in transmission. um you need to understand that those things are interconnected. And now is your CV connected to your LinkedIn? Because your LinkedIn page is actually your online CV. Electronic CVs are what we use now. Nobody really submits paper. I don't know, maybe they still do where you are, but where I am, I've never had to submit anything hard copy, you get. So that said, sometimes all they need, why do recruiters reach out to me to say, am I interested in a role? Why do partners come to me? Why do people want to collaborate? Is because they have checked my CV online on LinkedIn. So it is as important as your in fact more important to me than your physical, your paper CV. I also want to know that it is connected. You see, when you go for an interview or when you are preparing for an interview, understand that what they are calling you to come and do is to talk about your CV. And I'm going to leave you with this tip today, even if it's the only thing I'm able to tell you, which will help you and guide you in the ideal setting, in the proper setting. There is what we call I think if you can see, I don't know if you can see my screen. Please, if you can see my LinkedIn page, do let me know. Good, perfect. Thank you very much. Good. So I was saying that you have clues already to how you're going to do your well at your interview, only that you don't know. I was trying to say that employers don't just give you a job because they think you want the job. You need a job, you are needy. They employed you because they know you can solve a problem. If not, they won't pay you, they won't employ you. Right. So don't think they are doing you a favor. It's a mutual thing in sense that they want you and you want them. You want their money, they want your service. That's the way it works. Good. I'm showing you something just to show you one job and look at it very well. Be careful not to get bothered about the requirements you'll be seeing down here, even though they look very small. Mid senior level role for a job in the UK, Newbury. Right. That said, now look at the stuff here. Pay attention to the key accountability. I think it could be very small, so I'm going to zoom it and see if this will be okay. If it's too large, do let me know, or I'll drag it to the center. Okay, so paying attention to the key accountability and decision ownership. These are things they wish you could be doing for them, right? And they are trying to tell you the nature of your job. What you could be doing is to manipulate, analyze, interpret complex operational data sets, mine and analyze that large data sets. But this is not your requirement. This is like what you would be doing. So meaning that you might have not done it before, but you might need to start doing them after you started working. But they wrote something here. If you can see here where I highlighted, they wrote core competence, knowledge, and experience. Right? Is I think it's not properly formatted because this should hold in a separate space. You understand? So we have core competence, knowledge, and experience. This is what they are interested in. And somebody still confirmed that to us today, and also in research that Most entry level jobs, as crazy as it is, that they start with 2 years of experience to 3 years of experience. And so this is mid level. That's why they started with 3+ years. Again, there is a way you can actually package your experience to show that as though you have been doing analysis before you started data analysis as you jumped on this training. I said that to you before. So don't bother yourself about, oh, I just have 1 year of experience. I'm not even good at this. I just started and all. But where am I going? They're already mentioning some common things that you're already doing here. Look at this. 3 years of experience, keep that data modeling. Remember the first day, I think the second day, while we were trying to do Power BI, Mr. Anthony said something that relates to modeling data here. And he was trying to show us some things with DAX and some other things and how they are interconnected. Just to say that you're already doing this. So for this role, I'll be honest with you that you qualify to an extent. A mid-level role. Data cleansing is what you were doing with Excel, which day? That was the last one where we were talking about removing spaces, trimming them off, filling up the missing gaps, breaking down the names into first name and last name, changing the data formats, the data types, correcting some stuff and all that. Data enrichment techniques. When they say data enrichment here, we can interpret it as if making the data to be more useful. That's part of cleaning. You put it in a proper shape. So the idea is that data set, I think on sales group, I don't know which of those group where somebody dropped she wrote a bad data set or something like that. Yes, and bad formatted or badly formatted data set, very dirty. So when we say dirty, it has all those missing like mix of words and data types, numbers in between, spaces, missing words, wrongly formatted what's it called characters now, where you'll be having some Chinese, some Greek words and letters in between, a lot. Or you have your currency no uniform, where you have currency in naira at the same time in dollars, because we have similar thing while we pull the data set for the data professions in Nigeria, where some were in dollars, some were in naira. And if you want to provide that uniformly, maybe to Nigerian audience, you must convert that. So that's part of data enrichment to me. Now, when it's say excellent numerical and analytical skills, I explained this in one of the posts I made in one of these contribution I made on LinkedIn, that we are all analytical only to a certain degree of how you will use our analytical skills. So I gave an example that if you left something at home while you're stepping out on a particular table occupying a particular space, and then you got home and you realize that this thing has shifted. So if you are able to dictate that this thing shifted, and then you observe no one came home, then what happened? Meanwhile, you have a cat, and then you started to check the body of that thing and realize I can see some scratches, some marks, and then shortly after you notice footprints, and then you started tracing it, and then you're able to trace it to the location of that kind of, okay, I think it's a cat, I think it's a rat, I think it's a this. You get my point. What I'm trying to say is that with that, you've been able to put one and two together to form three. That is analytical. You're analyzing a situation. Also, maybe you are judging by what somebody is telling you, and you can tell that this person is lying because the things doesn't add up. You understand? How can you say you woke up early and then you are 3 hours late to a place where it takes only 25 minutes to get to, and you couldn't explain there is hold up, which is so unusual. I'm just trying to say that the moment you're able to put one and two together, you can tell, you can project, okay, prices will go up at a particular time when it's close to December, and then with the rate we are buying now, I think we can project that it will go 3 times more than this. Maybe it's prices of food store you get, or materials, the clothing materials and all sort of things, your shoes, your bags, you know that's analytical, to be honest with you, and it doesn't take more than that. Now when you say highly numerical, excellent numerical, everybody does number. If I ask you 300 multiplied by 400 multiplied by this, you might not know it. But when I put some 300 naira multiplied by 400 naira or plus 400 naira here, I'm sure people can easily relate with that. So don't, once they say you are numerical, people think about mathematics, they think about almighty formula, they think about algebra, they think about all those massive or stuff that you dread so much in school. No, They're just talking about connecting, making sense of numbers, which we're already doing here. I'm just trying to say, don't shy away from that. Strong presentation and communication skill. This is one of the reasons why I said people should unmute their mics, talk on your small groups, know how to communicate with people, know how to present your statement. As simple as that, you're already building your skills. So when I say that, wow, that's why I'm bringing you back to this so that you can from here. Because what happens in job interview is that every of these job description, they are your questions. Your CV is the answer. Take it as that. It is no more than that. Once you are preparing for an interview and you don't know the questions to prepare for, your most of the time about the organization, that is what they do there, the values, and the job description, the requirements, those are your questions. The answers are your CV because you've been invited. It shows that they are interested in you. It is not that time that you should be scared. You should be bothered. You don't get it. A lot of people apply for that job. Let me show you this. If I can scroll up, I'll show you. Uh, okay, I think it's no longer here. If the job was still on, you will see somewhere around there they will write 100 people, 100 plus people registered, or maybe apply for the job. And then you start to wonder if 100 people apply for the job and then you were selected, you were shortlisted, you have done well. You should firstly, give yourself some thumbs up there and say you've done well, that your CV is part of the people's CV selected. Now, they saw something in your CV. That was why you were asked to come. Always remember that. You were asked to come because they saw something they need in your CV. So it is not the time you should start thinking, am I competent enough? You have presented your CV, unless you lied, as in you told big lies in that CV. That's when you should be bothered. What I mean is fine, you will still get the anxiety will set in. I'm not even safe of that. I still get anxious sometimes, but I've really been able to, over time, build some um techniques to handle that. So, and this is part of what I'm trying to show you here. So that when you are writing your CV, understand that you must understand your CV. Don't try it. Never go to the interview without understanding every line of your CV, number one, and being able to defend it at least to the, is it barest minimum now, if it's a good one to say. Do you get that? Don't go to an interview without you reading through your CV, understanding everything. What if they ask you? Because they will start by asking you a question. Can you tell me of when you use A, B, and C to do D, C, and B? You understand what I'm trying to say here? Is that they are looking at your CV side by side with the job description and they're asking you, can you tell me of when you use Excel to generate reports that led to 50% reduction or increase in performance, whatever, over a period of time? Because they saw that in your CV. So they're asking, come and explain this thing you said you did. Because once you are able to explain to us, we are confident that you'll be able to do the same thing and much more for us. That's the way they see it. So they put the two side by side. And like I said again, I'll continue to say in the ideal setting, a proper setting. Some didn't do interviews. Like some of us, we just walk in, they invited us, and then the whole thing was just chat. You get, my wife had similar experience. Just asked her to come, and then boom, conversations went on, and they're like, "Do you want the job?" Yes, so yeah, start it. There's a level, right? And there are some situations supporting. It doesn't have to mean that you're excellent or supernatural. I mean, do you get that? So that said, always remember to study your CV very well. Study the job description, understand the company, what they do, the values and the core values. With that, you're able to generate questions for yourself to prepare. And then you are answering them with your CV. So remember, those things I listed at first are your questions. Your CV is the answer. Where am I going? Just to explain what you have done so far. I mentioned strong presentation. I've been trying to say push out yourself, do things, post on LinkedIn is part of you learning how to present and communicate. Because once you are doing that, what you are doing is you are exercising your brain and telling yourself that, okay, I want to explain how to use Excel. I want to tell them, you know how many times you will read that thing. The post I made this morning in the newsletter, I've been on it since what time? Since maybe very early in the morning, around 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. I didn't finish until around 11, though I was in between, I was moving here and there. But what I'm trying to say is that it took me time. I was going back and forth on it. And at some point, I couldn't even post it as a normal message. I had to send it out as a newsletter. If you can go on my page, you see that. And if you are part of my connection, read through it and understand it. It could be very useful for you. I spent time to learn that thing. Trust me, I did researches. I didn't just come type everything from my head. I had to go back to some of the newsletters I've read from people in the past. Where am I going? By the time you continue to learn how to do all those things, you are improving your presentation skill. When they call me to come and speak on that same topic later, I have what I can refer to. Do you understand? Again, the communication, typing it is one communication, speaking is another. Do you get me now? Being able to type, because I'm trying to give out information and people are listening, they're like reading it. I need to be sure that I'm able to communicate it as simple as possible. Do you get that? So engage in all these LinkedIn posts so that you can improve yourself when it comes to communication. Also, it will help you at interviews. You start to speak and you're like, where is this thing coming from? Because you have been doing it unknown to you. Ability to test hypotheses from raw data set and draw meaningful conclusion. Just now, a few minutes ago, the CEO of Tech in Transit said, if you need this data set, ask me. He wants to be able to test some things there. Maybe when they say test hypothesis now, probably you came up with an idea in your head that this and this is going to happen. Maybe people are dropping off because they are getting tired or they are not enjoying it. Then you want to test if all those things are like aligning with what you're doing or what your thoughts. The second part is from raw data. What we are going to generate from this is raw data set. What he did was to gather data from you. It is raw, not cooked, raw data set. And then he's be able to draw meaningful conclusion to say that the classes have not been all right, never have been doing all badly. Oh, this one have not been, I don't enjoy it. Maybe you can add this, include this, do that. That is it. Experience in statistical methodologies and data analysis techniques, some of which are the ones you are doing here already. Do you get that? The mean, they are all those ones are simple statistical measures, and you're working with it already. So where I'm going is that this whole thing now, none of them is actually more than you. Capacity to develop and document processes and workflow. I mean, can't you do that? You get, you can. Can't you write what you're doing here? You can document your work over time. First week we did this, we learned how to use this, we did this report, we got this, we used this data test, we did hotel. Somebody even sent his own workflow or his research or the analysis he did to the group. Then to produce clear graphical representation and data visualization, we are already doing it both in Excel and in Power BI. Exceptional attention to details and problem solving. I've been talking about we trying to build our mind to the point where you start to see solutions from every problem. You don't just focus on the difficulties or the challenges. So this is what they need from you now. Now, this part must have technical and professional qualifications. You see? So look at these core competencies. These ones are kind of talking about the mixture of the first part is talking about the mixture of your soft skills and your technical skills. But let me say less technical skills. But here it's talking about core technical skills. Here. So it says here you have studied statistics, physics, mathematics, engineering, economics, econometries, and whatever, and then any other relevant field. You see, I've seen people say, "Sir, the job you sent to me, my course is not listed there." And I'm like, I don't understand. I know you didn't study any of this one listed here. Okay. So the conclusion is, since it's not my course is not listed, I won't apply. And I asked a question, what about this any other relevant field? I mean, why do you have to focus on the ones that don't favor you in this conversation? Why not focus on the fact that I can still squeeze in my course into this one, even if you studied English? It could be that you are leaning towards your strong presentation and communication skill. You understand? It could be that you are good at documenting processes. I'm just trying to say, if that's what they teach you, it will be good that probably you are good at paying attention to details because you read in between the line. So that skill is needed because if you can tell me now that they're probably referring to STEM fields here, science and the likes, but they already said any other relevant field. Let me now bust your brain. You can study Yoruba or whatever language. If you're able to show something exceptional, please believe me, they would pick you. That's why you have to stand out differently. That said, don't allow any of these qualifications to stop you, and don't narrow down your thought to the point where you knock yourself out of the list. The role proficient in R, like I said, this is a mid-level role, right? SQL, Excel, SAS, all these ones are just variations of the same tools. I'll be honest with you. SAS works with Oracle. Oracle is a database thing more. Then, we are talking about Excel. SPSS is an old statistical tool that you can now use Excel and SQL to do some of these things. Python is even the boss of all of them, which I said I would probably want to mention at the end of the whole bootcamp. But for now, with this particular tool, this tool, you are good to go. And they already mentioned visualization somewhere here, which you can do with Excel or Power BI. Now you can see Tableau. I think I explained in when we started that Tableau is like another a variation of Power BI in the sense that Microsoft is the one in charge of that. I think Databricks bought Tableau already. You might not know what Databricks. So all these ones, like I said, they are just the same visualization tools. QLink is also a visualization tool. So the moment you know one, even when you don't know, you can go to that interview and say, what we study, what we that study guidance and counseling, this is superb. Superb. I'm not saying this because you typed. Somebody is saying, what about we who study guidance and counseling? Look at the word. You see, managing stakeholder is actually very, very important. So when it comes to counseling, you know you have a very high listening ability because you have to listen well to be able to guide. So just imagine that you are trying to guide the heart of your stakeholders, the owner of your company that you work for, into seeing value in particular solution you are proposing based on the results you got from data. That skill is very, very important because, like I said, paying attention and listening. They said it here somewhere here. Exceptional attention to details. You can't be guiding and counseling somebody without paying attention to that. You understand? So when you get that, you see that you have transferable skills every now and then that you can always lean on. All you need to do is to learn the other ones. Why I'm saying this is if you put yourself in the room and then you wrote you probably wouldn't talk about the fact that you study guidance and counseling, but every other skill they ask for is there. Then they saw your CV and they saw the impact you have made in the past. And then you say they will push you up because you didn't study this. How does this have anything to do with the fact that you have achieved the result? Do you get what I'm trying to say? Yeah. So work to put yourself on a very different level, on a higher level, such that they see your CV, they are falling in love with you. They want to see you right there and there. Again, why am I going taking through you through all these things? Just for you to know that we are the same. They already say proven ability of mathematics, which I explained earlier. If you are in this room and you are saying I'm not good at mathematics, but you're already analyzing data to analyze and do vast amount of data, all these things are things you build over time. Again, this is a mid-level role, but it's not far away from you. Let me now say this in this class. If you see any job that you are 50% qualified for, please apply. The worst is they won't call you for an interview. But remember that I will bust your brain if you don't know before. All these things, let me start from the core competence. Up onto this level, I mean, I was trying to take it from bottom. Yes, up to this level, there are wish lists. Interviews, I mean, job descriptions or requirements are wish lists. They wish they have somebody who can do all these things. Now, even if I'm the one applying for this role, I'll tell you this. I've not actually used SaaS before, but I've looked into it. I can watch it on YouTube today and start to use it. Do you get my point here? I've not used D3 or QLake, but they said such as, so they are like options listed. That's number one. So the moment you see that you can do any one of these things, jump onto it. Ability, understanding of data modeling and database solutions. You can start reading about these things right there. When they call you for an interview, go and read about it. Practice on overnight. Not, I mean, they don't call you for an interview immediately. They probably give like 3 days or 4 days in between. They will ask you to choose date. Give yourself time to go and prepare for it. And sometimes you might not know that Excel too. The moment you have something similar, you can say, well, I don't have a knowledge of that's where I'll be teaching you how to interview and how to prepare. Then the questions they possibly ask you. I think we have to take this section again, maybe after now or in the next class. So I'm not rushing. When it comes to the interview, it connects with your CV, like I said, and your LinkedIn. So once you start to see that, maybe this thing, because most of the people here in this room, once they start to see all these things, job descriptions, they are scared already. They're like, oh, more, is this what I want to come and do? No, I think I can't pass this thing. So if you are here already, I'm trying to tell you there's nothing. So again, all these things are wish lists. They wish somebody can do all these things. But in most cases, you won't find anybody who can do all of them. In most cases, they probably you might get somebody because anybody who can do all of them, let me now say this, would not apply for this job. The person will be going for something higher. Do you get that? Once the job is below what I can do, if I apply, the most likely would call me, but they won't give me the amount of money that I need because I know I have all the skills. I am confident. So I'll probably be bidding for something higher than they can pay, which is why I said what they will now do is they will default to taking somebody who has less skills, but who is still able to do the major stuff. So out of all these things you wrote here, there are major skills. Do you understand? So when I say there are interviews are wish list, I mean job descriptions are wish list. Get it. Don't get scared by anything. Let me now bust your brain. Out of the time, let me say 70% of the time you get to work, and in the first 1 week you'll be using only Excel and SQL. In fact, what I say first 6 months, you're not doing all these SaaS and all these things. Sometimes they even give the recruiter the job description, then you go and use ChatGPT to cook up all these stuffs or just arrange it. Some of them don't even know what these things are. They gave them, they brought it to you. So sometimes if you were asked to explain what you do at work recently and you should write it down, even yourself, you won't be able to apply for that job if you see it. Do you understand me? What you are currently doing at work, if they will ask a recruiter to help you write it down and package it this way, you will be scared and you'll be asking yourself, am I the one doing all these things? The truth is, the way they will write it, number one, you will be worried and be like, business intelligence platform, what does that mean? They use big words because they have to. Again, I'll tell you the reason why they do all those things. I mean, some of the reasons why they do things like that. So don't bother yourself. Certifications, which is the first time I'm seeing it on job description. I mean, in the UK, yeah. But myself and the CEO, we clarified that in the previous cohort that you need certifications in Nigeria, maybe because they just want to use that to reduce competition. Because having a certification doesn't mean you know that every time. It doesn't show that you certify that you know, but maybe to an extent, some rigorous exams, maybe you do. That's fine. Now, let me ask you this question. I know some people will be wondering like, what Sigma, Sys, Lane, ITL, Agile, Desirable Location, and all those stuff. I mean, this one is supposed to be command, so this is Desirable Location, I believe. So Agile, all these stuff, all these things are referring to project management methodologies. That is the method of managing project, the way, the flow, the way you structure your work and all. I mean, that's the best word I can use to explain it. So all these stuffs are like the way they name their own. So there are variations of different methodologies, different project management type. I'll talk about agile because that's what I use mostly and at work. From the literary meaning of agile, I think I've once explained that is when we say something is agile, we say it's active, it's moving and very responsive. Yes. So I will explain in a very simple way. So when they manage projects, we usually compare this one to another methodology called waterfall. And from the name waterfall, when you imagine a waterfall, it's always falling from top to bottom, right? Very straight down from top. What they are trying to say, it's a kind of method that just you until you start when you start a project, you don't come to change anything most of the time until you finish. That's the waterfall. That is in this boot camp. Even if we notice that there's something that is not working, because we have arranged it and we have started already, let's just continue. And that's the way it is. That was why when we started this program and we were adding people, it's really disrupted a lot of things. It seems we weren't organized because people were just coming, missing information, we're still adding. But the moment we started and we have sorted that nobody is being added and all sort of things. So we started getting ourselves. So some project don't allow that kind of system. So they prefer to go with waterfall. Now, agile in the sense is the one that allows you to go back and forth, making changes as you're going. To an extent, we are applying the two methods. There are some things that are rigid, we are not changing. Some we are making some changes, trying out different things. So it's like when you're handling a project at work, you are taking feedback from your stakeholders. When I mean stakeholders now, it's a big word again. That's what I'm saying. It's just the owner of the project, the manager, the CEO, the CMO. I mean, the people when they hold a very high stake, they are important in the whole thing, decision making, and that thing is actually, or even when as a teacher, your stakeholder at that moment could be the principal of the school or the students, because if the student don't do well, then they don't rate you well. So that person to an extent is a stakeholder. Do you understand me? So where I'm going is that you can take feedback from your stakeholders here and there, and then so it allows what we call feedback. You understand, giving, infusing different corrections, changing things, and then going back and forth. Like I said, because in our software related field or where you are doing analysis, it is always good to go back and take feedbacks from the person. Don't run when they give you analysis to do. Sometimes at the first instance, you might not get the question rightly. Even the person who asks you to do the analysis may not even know what they want, or they were unable to explain to you. So there's always a need for you to go back and forth and ask again. I've started. So you deliver a part of your work. I'm saying all these things now. This is what I do for my mentee in the real sense, where I tell them all these things so that you don't know when you will need this information, but let it stay. Okay. So you deliver a part of your work. You don't wait till the end of the analysis and you just finish everything. You can go and deliver it, only for you to discover that number one, you were looking at the wrong metric. Number two, you were targeting the wrong thing. Number three, the questions you were asking were not even what they are interested in. But if you have allowed agile methodology, for example, you would have really been able to correct that early enough. Then you have wasted the whole month doing an analysis they are not interested in. So what we recommend is to deliver a part of your work called MVP, minimum viable product, a part of your work that could be used or could be tested at that moment. A lot of things I'm saying all together. Why I'm saying all this is they are all English. Your team, your group is actually an agile group. The department you are currently, because they hold meetings, they go back and forth. It's not like they're just rigid and then it's just one way and then until the end we are not coming back. They can take in feedback. What we are trying to do here is also to take in feedback. Probably we can adjust this program and make changes. So why I'm saying all these things, if you can understand this methodology and the whole scope around the way they write descriptions and requirements, you won't be scared of any. You just apply a way. That said, if I quickly go to excuse me, let me look at the what we have on our what we have on this. Oh no, sorry. I'm happy you can see my screen. Yes, so this one. Overview of common interview formats and questions. I went through the questions. I went to the job description to tell you that with that job description, you can prepare yourself. Now, I should be off here in 3 minutes to say that. So, like I said, we can't treat everything, but I think it's important that I take you through the job description for you to understand how to prepare for the interviews. So, once you see the job description, what you are going to do is to defend them. And like I said, if you have applied for this kind of role and they called you, it shows you have seen those things in your CV. So, when you are preparing for the interview, what you are trying to do is to prepare some questions for yourself. And the way they usually ask the question is, tell me of when you have done. Let me see. Let me show you. Tell me of when you have used. Looking at. Let's use that. Let's use the first question now. Tell me of when you have used Excel to manipulate, analyze, and interpret complex operational data sets. Remember, the guys in the operation team now. You can relate with this. When they say operational data sets, you start to relate that okay, I have done this before, but you don't just say yes, I did it. I use it to do this A and B and all. No, that's where the star method is coming from. I'm sure some of us know this one. You answer that kind of question with the star method of answering interview questions. They wrote behavioral questions. You can answer any kind of interview questions there. Now, what it means is that you're talking about the situation. That is what was happening then. You're talking about the situation. You're talking about the next, which is S. The T talks about the tax. That is the tax ahead of you. Then the next thing talks about the action you took and the results you got. Some will even have L at the back of this R, learning. So it will be style. So this is star method of answering interview questions, be it behavioral, be it technical. When I say behavioral now, this is the kind of question they are using to understand your own kind of person, your personality, and how you do your things, who you are, like your behavior, how you respond to situations around you, how you manage people, interact, and all sort of things. So what they can also use it to answer technical questions. So I'm going to quickly show you this. Again, if you can see my screen, this is one of the questions you one of your the the facilitators, that's the mentors, got from the interview she went to, and she remembered, but then she used ChatGPT to build this, in which are things I will show you now. Look at this. Said describe a time when you identify a cost saving opportunity in your previous role. Meanwhile, you must have written it in your CV already that, well, I use Excel to analyze maybe costs of sales data set to be able to identify the opportunity to save costs. and do this, or let me say purchase data sets to be able to analyze. And then they are asking you that question based on your CV. Because once you are able to give them an answer that is very useful for them, they will be able to gauge it, I mean, weigh it against their own problem. Is this the right candidate for us? Are you the best fit? That word, take note of it. So here, look at the way the response comes. In my previous role, the situation, as a procurement analyst, our company was facing a budget constraint. Now, you might think this is too much information. No, you didn't mention the name of the company. You just said our company. Meanwhile, you have written it in your CV. So there's no hide and seek here. And was looking for a way to reduce costs without compromising on quality. That is situation based. As in, that is the situation. Then what was the task? I was tasked with reviewing our existing supplier contract and identify potential cost saving opportunity. What was the action you took? I conducted thorough analysis of procurement data. Now, let me tell you this. All these things are things we generated with ChatGPT, but with the knowledge of your CV and the job description. So, if trust me, if you follow this method, you can. I mean, it doesn't go wrong. At least for the since we've been testing it, 80% of the time you are ready because you already have the questions. And then the next one is the result. What was the result you got from it? The team accepted my. Sometimes you might introduce these tools you use. You can say, I conducted the thorough analysis of procurement data using Excel or Power BI, identify high volume. You understand what I'm trying to say? So you are mentioning the tools that you have used. So they know you can use those tools. The team accepted my recommendation. We successfully negotiated and contract, resulting into a 15% cost reduction and blah 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 blah. If you want to put the hell here, like I said, now what did you learn? I learned that we have to every time you should take care of this, put something in charge of this. Try not to lose guard when you are meant monitoring something. That's your learning. Do you get that? So if you can imagine questions this way, that's why you don't even need to start guessing. Put all these things. I will show you, I think, in the next class, if not the next one, because it's a whole lot, right? How to prompt ChatGPT, something they call prompt engineering, to be able to answer these kind of things. And this is what generated all these ones. And you can see page 25. So imagine you are preparing for an interview. You already have 25 pages worth of answers and questions and answers. Come on. To be honest with you, I will tell you again and again, this has worked, and you will always go there prepared and ready. And then let me now bust your brain, which is the last one I would say. Even if you have prepared all these things and there are questions you can't solve at the interview, there is always a way to handle them. So we don't go to interviews with the mind that we are going to answer all the questions and get it right. Once you have that at the back of your mind, there's tendency you'll be under anxiety because you'll be scared that what if you get a question that you can't answer. So let me let you know that there are three types of questions majorly: the questions you know the answers to, the ones you don't know the answers to, the ones that the answers could be wrong or right. It depends on how you answer it. What I'm trying to say is it's your own. When they ask for your strengths and weaknesses, it's my strength, it's my weakness, it's not your own. Do you get it? So whatever answer I give you is what you accept, but you have to be tactical. You have to be you have to be smart to know why they ask you that kind of question. So be careful because of the role you are applying to. Okay. So and then the ones you know the answers to, you are ready to as in to dismantle them. You know how it is when they give you like in an examination or all the questions they ask, there you know the answer and it's theory, and you're asked to choose like 5 questions out of 7, and you know 5 solid ones, or let me say 4 solid ones, and you are not sure of the fifth one. What do? You spend time breaking down the 4. In fact, you take extra sheets of paper, I mean answer booklet, so that you can at least get full marks on those ones. Then the one that you don't know, the fifth one, you now just continue to go around and round and round and round. You know, that's the way it should be at the interview. Once you know the answer, don't waste time on it, but answer it with enough boldness, enough courage, clarity, and all, so that they can score you out there if they are marking you or anywhere. You get, but there are other tricks to it. To be honest, interviews are like very enjoyable if you understand how to do it. Yes, that said, the ones you don't know the answer to, you have to be sincere. Also understand that if they ask you a question of how to, if you have used something that you know you have not used the exact tool, but you have used something similar, be open to say, I have not exactly used this tool, but I've used something similar. and I know this is what I did with it and it, and I believe that with the same knowledge I have in this, I can easily learn this or use it in this one. It won't just take me time. They want to see that you have that undying test for knowledge and you are ready to learn. See, anybody would like a sincere person, to be honest with you, at an interview. When I mean sincere now, there are some things you will definitely have to you hype yourself on. Well, that's what they are demanding. You need to really be able to prove that you are worth, the risk. But there are some things you can't just start lying about or hiding. That's why I said you should be aware of your CV before you go for the interview. Otherwise, you go and fumble. I mean, because when you wrote your CV, you were the one who said you did all these things. Trainable, somebody said, yes. You are the one, or teachable, yes. You are the one who said you do all these things. Why are you now stammering? Anxiety sets in, but if now you get CV, you supposed to sabi do and well. I mean, you should be able to defend it. Just like somebody asking me if I'm the father of my daughter, and then they're asking about her birth. I should be able to say what happened from A to Z, not start guessing. So when they ask you, tell us about how you use Excel to do A and B as written in your CV, they won't say that. They'll just say in your formal work, or tell me when you use Excel to perform this and this and this. And then if you are now stammering, it shows you didn't do it. So even if now, if I was the one who cooked that CV for you, before you go for that interview, come back and say, what do you mean here? Let's go through it together. That is where mock interviews come. I think we should stop here today. It's a whole lot about interviews. For somebody, why I'm doing this early is because some of us will start going for interviews soon. I'm very sure of that. And some people have already started interviewing. You understand? So you need to be prepared because it's a painful thing to land the interview invite and not to land the job. But again, not all jobs are yours. You can't be the best fit for every job, but you want to try your best as soon as you've been called for an interview. Some they have somebody they want to give the job to or the role to internally, but they just have to follow the formal thing to do, and that's why they advertise it. So you can't kill yourself over them. And sometimes there's somebody who's just better than you. It's not because I mean who's just a better fit. Let me use that word. Not like better than you as a personality, but for that role. Imagine they said they need somebody with 5 years of experience or 3 years of experience in insurance. Meanwhile, you have been in health system, healthcare all your life, doing analysis in health. I mean, how can you really marry that? So it's a whole lot of things. So if they find somebody of the same level of competence who attended that same interview and delivered as much as you or close to your delivery, but has more experience in insurance than you, come on, they will go with the person. But the next job they will give to you too, don't forget that it is somebody they will reject. So when you feel bad about the fact that you were turned down, don't forget that when you get it, somebody else will feel bad. So don't take it to heart. I know it's not easy. Thank you very much for your time. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to interviewing. It's my thing, right? Again, we can still be here together for the next 3 hours and we are still breaking things down. But it's better as I'm doing it maybe every 1 hour now so that you can take in a lot and utilize it because we have a lot to talk about. We are still like within 1 and 2 here to be honest. We have we have not touched three and then we can go over it again in the next class. Thank you very much.